Alright guys, welcome back. So I want to do the splat with you. For those of you who watch constantly, I did a color pencil like splat basically that was like had all the colors in it and everything. It was really cool, or I thought so. So sorry, there's cat hair everywhere. Alright, so to start off, I want to place lights and darks, and I'll show you how to draw this thing out real quick. It's kind of like an amoeba. Basically, when you drop a liquid, it's going to hit, and then everything goes straight out from it. There's like no like big curves or anything. So it's pretty simple. Let me see if I can grab one of my pencils here. Or not, whatever, because I'm not prepared in the least. That's cool. I'll get my color pencils out. So, got my gray. Grays that I have that I'm working with are black, cold gray 4? Yeah, cold gray 4. And cold gray 2. This one's just for blending purposes if I want to blend with that. As you can see, I use these like all the time. They're super short now. Anyway, so we've got like this area. We're going straight out from here, straight out from here, straight out this way. So on a straight out, we're going to taper it down to an end like that. I'm going to taper this down to an end, and then I'm going to give it like a little thingy bob there. And then going straight out from this way. And then go straight out this way. And this is just direction wise. It's not like actual like straight, like it's obviously tapered. I just want it to be straight out like in direction wise from like the middle blob or whatnot. And then of course I want like a little drop going off that way. And then if you can't draw it, it's okay. Like, if you feel like it's lost or whatever, you'll still get the general idea, and it's not a big deal, okay? I promise it's not. So, I promise it is not a big deal if you don't feel like you can draw it yourself or whatnot. It's okay. You're not being graded on this. And then I want another one of these little, like, it came off and dropped over there. And then get a taper here. Yeah, that is somewhat similar to what I did before. So, anyway, blobby thing with, like, straight out things. Yeah. I have super good descriptive skills, guys. Okay, so, what we're going to do is place the light about that far up and then coming straight down at it, right? So, the top, you've got to think about this as a liquid. Okay, so it's going to be rounded, kind of like a capuchon. So we're going to have a lot of the direct light is going to be right up here, and it's going to fade real quick into a shadow on this side. Okay, so that's the main part of it. So it's going to have a shadow down here, almost in the middle, okay? And then the other part of it is going to be the reflected light. So you've got a little bit, so you got to imagine the light's hitting the paper and kind of hitting it back up in there. So it's not going to be super bright, but it is going to be lighter than our most intense dark shadow here. So we're going to start with that, and I'm going to just shade into it here and kind of make it a little bit round. Kind of thinking about this as a cabochon, right? But we're going to, of course, have it follow the, sort of, in a way, follow the general shape, okay? And then you're going to start, like you would with a pearl, that very lustery feel, you're going to go in the middle of that, and that's where you're going to make it darker. And this is going to help with our reflected light down here, this part. And this will be a much darker shadow that follows along the edge. By the way, these take some practice. This is not like just fly by night. You'll get it in one hit. I mean, you'll get the semblance of it, definitely. It took me a couple before I got it, so don't feel bad. And you can do this multiple times, of course. But yeah, like don't feel bad if you don't get the idea of it right away. So I'm putting some darker shadows around here because I want a nice clean line on all the edges. And then with each of the little arms coming off, if it's an arm up here, we're going to have very, very thin shadow up here. And then you've got the light coming in. So you've got very, very thin shadow. And then you're going to have, when it comes down, you'll have a little bit more of a shadow, but not much. Whereas on the bottom ones, you're going to have a shadow that is much deeper, like thicker, because your light is coming from up here. So it's going to hit the top of it, kind of like glancing blow type thing. And so your shadow is going to be thicker down here. And then you're thinking light hits it up here, so you're going to have the super bright light, a little bit of shadow, a little bit more shadow on this side. Okay. So anything that's up on the top is going to have a little bit more shadow on the side that is away from the light. So away from the light over here, a little bit of shadow over here. And we're going to have to round it out, of course. And don't worry, it doesn't look like much right now, but that's okay. That's where you build it. You build it and you build it. Okay? You just want to get in like the basics, basically. So we're going to have more shadow over here, a little bit of shadow over here. It's going to come in and almost touch itself, really. You can touch it. The light gray can touch. And then we'll have more shadow over here. That. And then with this, we're going to have that highlight's going to be like right there. And then this will be our shadow. And this one is kind of almost like halfway. So we're going to have the light up here. So that means we'll bring this shadow from the bottom side. And we'll go ahead and bring it out pretty far. So we've got that. You gotta remember, all the edges go down to touch the surface, right? So all the edges kind of have that shadow. And then we've got a pretty big shadow over here. And this is all going to be your reflected light, so we're going to have to get that quite a bit darker. That's a little bit of a highlight there. This is all going to be your reflected light. And then shadow. I'm kind of thinking it out in my mind, which is why I keep saying it, okay? So I have a little bit of light on this. There won't be a whole bunch. Yeah, it looks pretty good. Okay, now let's get some dark in here so that you really start feeling it. Or feeling it, you feel it. So you get the sense of, a little bit better sense of what we're doing here. This really needs to have more shadow. But when you start adding some of the darker, it really helps to see it. So this is just black. I'm just doing light little layers so we can start adding depth to it. And then we're going to jump down to the edge because we've got that reflected light. And this is going to go a lot darker. Okay? And basically we can just edge it out. I'm not pushing very hard, by the way. And then we'll have quite a nice dark shadow on this side. And then the same here. Really nice dark shadow on this side. And we'll have like little bits of really dark shadows here. Coming up. This way. And then with the shadows up here and around here, you're going to have like a really dark one, like lines right around your highlight, which I know seems kind of weird, but then you've got the dark shadow here and the dark shadow here, and this kind of looks much more like reflected light. You're going to do the same with these down here. as this comes up, and you're going to have a much darker shadow here, right beside the highlight. You're going to have that reflected light. You're going to have a bit of your highlight. This one, I think, because it doesn't have so much coming down on it, I don't think it makes as much sense for there to be so much highlight on it. So we're going to block in some of that with our medium gray. Yeah, it looks a little better. We're going to do the same for this. This one, I do want that to still have a little bit of highlight on it. We're just going to make it smaller. How about that? There. That's better. That's better. Okay. And then same with this. We're going to like go right around the highlight and then go around the edge. Okay, so that's just the splat itself. Then you've got to think about the actual shadow on the paper that gives it that more three-dimensional look, okay? So we've already got the shadows and lights kind of blocked in, basically. And what I want to do, other than putting some extra shadow up here, alright, I'll come back and do that with our colors. But it's going to irk me until then. Anyway. Alright, so our dark shadows that are going to hit the paper are going to be where we put our dark shadows on the actual splat, okay? So these will be blended a little bit better. But down here, let me get my pencil sharpener. We're going to come out and away just the tiniest bit from it. And these are going to be nice dark shadows. And you're going to follow the edge. Just like that. Okay? And of course shadows on their edge, on their outer edge, this edge here. We're going to kind of, we want this to be pretty sharp, but we'll also put in just a little bit of a gradient so it feels more like a shadow, right? So we want these nice large shadows down here. kind of make it look like it's sitting on this paper and casting a shadow, right? Right. Bring this out some more. This needs to come out more. Because you gotta think, this is a 3D object and it's casting a shadow. So you want this edge over here to follow this taper. Okay, kind of like that. Now we're going to do the same here. We're going to have a big shadow here, just like what's going on up here. Just like what's going on over here. We've got that nice dark edge. We're going to have that cast shadow. Same over here. We're going to have that cast shadow. And since this is going to be thinner, it's going to be closer to the paper, so that shadow will be thinner than the rest of it. And then you've got on this side of things, you're having the light right there, so you're not going to have a shadow. With these, you can put in little shadows if you really want, just for definition's sake. And then we're going to have the shadow here. The shadow here. Like that. Okay? Are you seeing it? Okay, then we gotta go give this guy a little shadow. And, ooh, don't forget him. We didn't forget to shadow the little drop up here. Don't want to do that. Just like that, okay? You can take your time and go as slow as you want or as quickly as you want with this. I'm trying to show you a little bit sped up so that you can see it. And then I'll go through real quick because I don't want to like kill my camera. And show you what I did with the colors. For the reflected light, I used a cold blue. So I could kind of show you the reflected light. I used the light ultramarine. And so that's reflected light. So that's going to be like the shadows down here. Okay. Bit of the reflected light. Hereabouts, okay? Just like that. Then I used a darker blue, this is just cobalt blue, to get into this bit of the shadow on this metal little thing of ours. Actually, I think I used a darker blue in the original, but that's okay. Probably use like Indanthrene blue or something like that. But either way, a cold blue, not like a warm toned, which would be like a greenish blue. You want a just like a blue. Okay. Let's see. Put some of it down here as well. There's not going to be colors in the actual shadow down there. Just in the shadows on the actual piece. And then that's more reflected light up here. And then for the hot part of it, I used, I think I used, by the way, I don't remember correctly, because I didn't write it down, I should have, a mixture of yellow, orange, and pink. This is fuchsia, cadmium yellow, light cadmium yellow, and cadmium orange. And I did, the yellow was kind of on this side. So, basically opposite of the blue. Put it right in some of the lights on the opposite side. Boop, 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 boop. And I forgot that one again. Look at that. Reflected light. And then with the orange, I just kind of went along and made it darker, going into the shadow. Apparently I used it over here too, which works. Kind of makes it feel electric. And then the pink, which would be the fuchsia, goes darker. So again, we go just on the edges of the orange going into the shadow on the opposite side. But going into the middle shadow. Does that make kind of sense? Maybe. I don't know. If it does, fantastic. If it doesn't, well, I'm a crappy teacher then. But that's about the basics of what I did right there. So, then you can take your light gray and you can sharpen up the edges of this if you want. You can do some of the blending in here to make it all look a bit smoother. You can also make that darker, by the way, if you feel the need. Makes it darker. Remember, contrast is everything when you're doing anything that looks or is trying to give the appearance of being shiny. There's always tons of contrast. And you know me, I love contrast, so I'm gonna just bring this down a little bit. I don't want this to be quite so right, this edge. But there is the super basic splat of pencils. And then you know, arrange your pencils like they fell down or something. And you take a picture. Ta-da! So, you guys, it's not that hard. Okay, it really isn't, I promise. You just got to do it a couple of times, kind of get the feel for it, and you'll understand it. You will. It just takes a couple of run-throughs, and you'll be able to do it probably better than me. So, try it out, see if you like doing it, and if so, continue doing it. If not, don't worry about it. Maybe it's just a fun thing to do for a practice or whatever, and just, or maybe it's just because you want to see how some new pencils work. So, anyway, talk to you next time. I don't know what that was. That was a weird noise. Okay, bye.